Hey there, Camille Scott with Xeno Enthusiasts, and today I've got 3 suggestions for how you can develop a foreign language. So if you want to develop a foreign language, obviously total immersion is your best bet. That's not always attainable for everybody, because you might have to work or you might have a family and you're not going to be able to just pick up and move to a foreign country. But that is actually my first suggestion. But if you can't do that, I've actually got 2 other ways. So total immersion is actually your best solution. So moving abroad would be the best way to do it. And it's not always easy to get a work visa in a foreign country. Most tourist visas are only 3 months. So one thing that you could do is check out a catalog like Workaway, where you can exchange about 4 hours of labor a day in exchange for room and board, and have some kind of an extended stay that's an alternative to tourism and would be a lot less expensive than staying in a hotel. Another way that you could easily get a work visa to live abroad for over a year in a foreign country would be to get the designation to teach English abroad. And this is a pretty easy thing to do. You just can do it right online. It could take a couple months and cost a couple $1,000s, but then you can get a visa to work in any country in the world for a year. And of course, you'd be teaching English, but in exchange, you'd be living in a community where they speak your target language, and you'd be able to practice that during your time off and be able to really develop that foreign language. So let's say that you can't move abroad, you're prohibited from doing that for whatever reason. Another simple suggestion would be to get a language partner here. And you can do that through several online apps, or you could just find somebody in your community that wants to learn your native language that is a native speaker of your target language. So the classic way to do this would be to spend a couple hours a week with that person, and half the time you would speak your language and half the time you would speak their language. So if you go out for a walk along the coastline, you can walk out in English, and on your way back you switch to your target language. Or if you go out and have a couple drinks, round 1 is in your language and round 2 would be in their language. Now, if you're actually sitting with somebody, it would be helpful to have some kind of a magazine or something that has lots of really rich pictures in it, and you can act as a language parent for the other person and just explain everything in that picture in just one of the 2 languages. And that way they're learning and you're learning visually rather than having to translate and revert back to your native language. That way you can learn lots of words, lots of vocabulary. You can even ask questions and carry on a little conversation that is supported by the visual image that you're discovering together. And lastly, my final suggestion for learning a foreign language would be to try to use some kind of an online instruction. Now, most of us are familiar with Duolingo and Babbel and Rosetta Stone, and all those are really great for reinforcing a language if you already speak it somewhat. They tend to be a little bit more grammar based and focus on visual cues rather than conversational skills. But one language program that I really recommend that is not as well known is Pimsleur. Now, I've been using this program since I was a kid, and it was on cassette. My dad would have these binders of cassettes while we were driving around in his Volvo, and he'd pop out a cassette and be fumbling around on the floorboards to get the other one in hopes that the tape wouldn't get caught in the machine, and you'd pull out this long ribbon of cassette tape. But yeah, this language system has been around for a long time, and it is really different than a grammar-based system, and that's why it's a lot more effective, because it's a way to learn the language naturally as if you would learn it when you're a child. So there you have it, 3 solid suggestions for how you can acquire a foreign language. I love to get in the ocean as often as I can, and here's a little clip. Refreshing. To try Pimsleur for a week for free, follow the link in the description box below. I'm Camille Scott with Xeno Enthusiasts.